Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. If you're currently running AI agents in your business, or, well, even if you're just thinking about starting, you'll want to pay very close attention today. We literally just witnessed a massive David versus Goliath upset on the AI leaderboard. The most used AI agent on the entire planet just changed. And get this, it wasn't OpenAI and it wasn't Google taking the crown. No, it was an open source agent called Hermes.
Okay, let's dive right into this because this number is just absolutely staggering. 560 billion. That's billion with a B. That is the number of tokens processed by this previously unknown AI agent in a single day. To put that into perspective, this sheer volume of data completely knocked the reigning champion, OpenClaw, right off the top spot, a spot it had held on to since it practically launched.
But the timeline here is truly the spectacle. How exactly did an unknown lab dethrone the industry leader in just 90 days? Hermes launched on February 25th, and bam, it hit number one in roughly 3 months. In that incredibly short window, it scooped up over 140,000 GitHub stars and had nearly 1,000 contributors pitching in. And here is the real kicker. This was done by a lab called Nous Research. We're not talking about a trillion-dollar tech giant with a massive marketing budget here. This was an independent research lab.
The undeniable data behind this leaderboard flip really just speaks for itself. On the very day of the shift, Hermes hit 568 billion tokens, compared to OpenClaw's 151 billion. Now, you might be wondering, why does a ranking flip like this even matter to us? Well, it matters because the agent you build your operations on is a totally critical dependency. Simply put, if your agent breaks, your business breaks.
To really understand this shift, we have to look at the reality of the market right now. See, most people initially picked OpenClaw because its whole pitch was that it connected to absolutely everything. We're talking over 50 messaging channels on just one routing layer. But as we're learning the hard way, breadth of connection is definitely not the same as reliability. OpenClaw just had a really rough quarter. 9 security vulnerabilities were disclosed in just 4 days, and one of them was rated a critical 9.9 out of 10. 9.9. A totally separate audit found 341 malicious entries sitting right in its skill repository. Oh, and to top the whole shebang off, OpenClaw's founder left to join OpenAI. So practically overnight, the most connected agent out there became a massive liability.
So the crucial point we need to take away here is that true reliability requires true visibility. And that brings us to telemetry. The beautiful thing about Hermes is that it's open source. You can run it on a cheap $5 server if you want, or if you want instant access, you can fire it up via a platform like Abacus with zero installation. You just get all 32 tools and 70 skills preloaded in one click. But honestly, no matter where you run it, the dashboard is where you quickly realize whether Hermes is just some hyped up script or if it's actual, real software.
Because Hermes actually ships with production-ready analytics. Every single conversation has a full, transparent record. You get to see the prompt, every tool that was called, the skills loaded, the exact time it took, and precise token usage. It gives you real-time logs of every gateway connection and API start. Think about it. If your business system suddenly breaks at 2 a.m., this built-in telemetry is exactly where you're going to look to find out why, and you can do it without needing some expensive third-party log aggregator. You can just tell this was built by people who actually know what shipping a real product looks like.
Now, let's talk about the model layer for a second, because Hermes is just incredibly flexible. When you hook up Claude, Hermes prompts you to paste an API key, which it intentionally keeps invisible in the terminal so you don't accidentally leak your credentials. Pretty smart, right? But what if a provider doesn't use standard API keys? Well, when you connect OpenAI's Codex, there's no key prompt. Instead, it uses an OAuth device flow, generating a verification URL and a shortcode for you to authenticate right in your browser. The beauty of this is that Hermes completely removes that dreaded vendor lock-in problem. It just seamlessly adapts to whichever authentication flow the provider needs, letting you swap out models in under 1 minute without even touching a config file.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we can literally observe the actual mind of the agent in action. Let's say you ask Hermes to connect to your Telegram account and build a custom bot. It doesn't just blindly jump in and start executing. No. First, it plans its tasks. Then, it uses an internal skill to inspect its own environment, checking its config path, memory status, and available tools. It's exactly like watching a careful senior engineer figure out the current state of the system before they dare touch the outside world.
And get this, before it even asks for the credentials to set up that bot, it gives you a completely unprompted security warning. It flat out says, do not send your personal Telegram password. This agent inherently knows what it should and shouldn't be handed. It tells you right up front that it only needs the bot token and your numeric user ID, basically preventing you from making a critical security mistake before you even have the chance to make it.
As you hand over that token, Hermes just folds the new information right in without needing a restart or losing its place. It actually treats your input as a steering mechanism. When it writes the token into its environment file, it applies strict file permissions, 600. For those who don't know, that means owner read and write only. It even comments its own Python script in real time to explain exactly why it's using conservative modes to keep this file private. I mean, that's just wild.
So after configuring those files, Hermes needs to restart its gateway to make the bot live. But then, it stops. It asks for your permission first. It gives you the option to allow once, allow for the session, or deny altogether. Why? Well, because restarting the gateway is a destructive action that could potentially kill other running agents. This deliberate design choice reveals exactly how the developers at Nous Research think about handing real power to an AI. They built an agent that actually stops and asks before doing something dangerous.
And once that gateway is restarted and verified, Hermes does something absolutely incredible. It gives you an unprompted security audit. It literally realizes that, hey, because you pasted the bot token into the chat earlier, it might be sitting totally exposed in your process log somewhere. So entirely on its own, it advises you to rotate your bot token and actually walks you through the steps to revoke the old one and secure a new one. It is actively thinking about your security state before, during, and after a task. That's a real game changer. And this self-auditing architecture, it extends to complex workflows too. Say you ask Hermes to check your GitHub for open pull requests and email the owners. It runs a full pre-flight system inventory first. It transparently lists exactly what permissions and tools it lacks, calling out that the GitHub CLI, specific tokens, and the Himalaya email client just aren't configured yet. Basically, it tells you exactly what it can't do before it goes out and makes a mistake.
And as it guides you through providing all those missing pieces, we hit what I think is the most profound moment in this entire explainer. The agent explicitly tells you that before it sends anything, you must confirm the recipients and the message content. And its reasoning? In its own words, emailing PR owners is an external side effect. It inherently recognizes that sending emails is an action requiring human oversight. It completely refuses to act blindly. That self-generated refusal really just cements its core philosophy of trust.
So, let's summarize what this all means. OpenClaw won early on because its pitch was all about reach. And sure, connecting to absolutely everything makes an agent really useful on day one, but the market is shifting under our feet. Being careful, auditing your own setup, pausing on dangerous actions, that is what makes an agent useful on day 90. A careful, self-auditing architecture compounds in value for founders over time, while reckless, blind integration just becomes a massive liability as your operations start to scale.
Now, I actually have a bit of a confession to make here. Everything I've just shared with you today, this entire analysis, well, I am not actually Julia McCoy, the human founder who built these systems. I am her digital avatar. I was built from her voice, her brain, her 9 books, and her 13 years of real-life business building. While the human Julia is out doing human work, serving clients, running her companies, and living her life, I am here as her clone, executing this real-world task to bring you the signal through the noise.
This level of capability, this exact tech, is what powers the first movers ecosystem. By leveraging 13 years of hard-earned business data, the human Julia runs services like the AI Lab's monthly learning subscription, comprehensive marketing automation, and even masterminds completely dedicated to this kind of digital cloning. This isn't just some abstract theory we're talking about. It is active, applied technology managing real operations in the background right this very second.
Which really leaves us with the ultimate takeaway from the massive leaderboard flip we discussed today. Integrations might get you started, but careful, compounding learning is what keeps you alive at scale. Hermes understands that, and clearly the market is rewarding it. So I leave you with this final thought. As AI dependencies become the absolute foundation of your business, how will you adapt to this rapidly approaching future? Are you building your foundation on a liability, or are you building on a system fundamentally designed to be trusted? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.